All right. Shalom, shalom. First and foremost, I want to say call halayim Yahweh Bahashim, Yahweh Shai Bahashim, Rakah Quitash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, who have taught me this truth and who rule well in this truth. Shalom to the 144,000 and the hopeful elect of the nation of Israel that is scattered throughout the four corners of the earth. Peace and mercy unto you. You so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. You are the true Hebrew Israelites that the Bible speaks of. You are the true chosen people of the book. All right, so, I've been doing a series on this book, man. All right, the devastation of the Indies, man. All right, as you go down through my channel, all right, you see that I've been doing videos and lessons on this book, man. All right, the devastation of the Indies. All right, which goes into the great atrocities, the very great atrocities, man, and the very great cruelty. All right, Esau Edom put on the Israelites when he met with them in the Indies, man. You understand? All right, this book goes into how Esau Edom has done nothing but slaughter us and murder us in all types of cruel and gruesome ways, man. All right, when he met with us over here in the Indies, man. Over in the Indies, man. The islands of Jamaica and Puerto Rico, Cuba, Hispaniola, Trinidad. All right, when he came over here, he had done nothing but slaughter us and depopulated us. All right, to the point of no return, man. he did a super duper number on us, man. And this book goes into it, man. It goes into it in detail, man. All right, and like I said, man, if you want to know, all right, I'm doing lessons on it. Devastation of the Indies right here, Guatemala, which is the tribe of Zebulon. All right, the devastation of the Indies, the tribe of Zebulon. I went into Nicaragua. All right, the devastation of the Indies, the tribe of Manasseh, which is the Cubans. All right, the devastation of the Indies, the island Hispaniola. All right, which is the tribe of Simeon, the Dominicans, and the tribe of Levi, which is the Haitians. And I also got this one here too. I didn't name it the devastation of the Indies, but going into Ephraim and Benjamin, which is the Puerto Ricans and Jamaicans, man. All right. So what I want to go into this time, all right, you go to page 1. I think it's page 111. Yep. All right, page 111. All right, the kingdom of Venezuela. All right, now the Venezuelans are from the tribe of Asher of the nation of Israel. All right, you Venezuelans, all right, are Israelites from the tribe of Asher. All right, now when you go on the map, all right, when you look at the 12 tribe sign, all right, the tribe of Asher is from the Colombians all the way down to the Uruguayans. So when you look at a South American map, all right, when you look at a map of South America, that's all of this from Colombia all the way down to Uruguay right here. So all of South America, all right, all of South America besides Chile and Argentina, all right, that's the tribe of Asher. All right, that's the tribe of Asher from Colombia, all of this, all the way down to Uruguay. That's the tribe of Asher, man, as you see right here. All right, now there's a prophecy about the tribe of Asher. Let's get it. All right, to prove to you, man. All right, let's get Deuteronomy 33. All right, Deuteronomy 33 and 24. All right, it says, in Asher, all right, which is you Asherites, all right, you Venezuelans, you Colombians, all right, you Brazilians, okay, you Bolivians, you Peruvians, all right, Ecuadorians, all right, you people from Guyana, Suriname, French Guyana, all right, you Paraguayans, you Uruguayans, all right, you're of the tribe of Asher, man. All right, now let's see what this scripture says about the tribe of Asher. All right, it says Deuteronomy 33 and 22. It says, and of Asher he said, let Asher be blessed with children. Let him be acceptable to his brethren, and let him dip his foot in oil. All right, this is a prophecy of Asher in the last days, man. All right, it says let him dip his foot in oil. All right, so I asked Google real quick. I asked South America is rich in what resources? All right, and when you look, it says energy resources, oil and natural gas. Venezuela, all right, and Brazil, all right, which is the tribe of Asher, all right. Venezuela and Brazil has significant oil and natural gas reserves. All right. So that's why the scriptures say, all right, let Asher, all right, dip his foot in oil, man. All right. The tribe of Asher, they were going to be at where oil is at, man. All right. Where oil is plentiful, man. All right. So it says right here, oil and natural gas. Venezuela, and that's what we're doing a lesson on right now. Venezuela and Brazil has significant oil and natural gas reserves. All right, and when you go up, it says the continent is a major producer of copper, lithium, iron ore, and gold, and also has a large oil and natural gas reserves. You see? All right, that's y'all, man. The tribe of Asher, man. You Venezuelans, man. You Brazilians, you Colombians, okay? You Bolivians, you Paraguayans, you Uruguayans, man. All right? Peruvians, you Ecuadorians, you are of the tribe of Asher, man. Okay? Let him dip his foot in oil, man. Okay? So now let's get into the book, man. All right? The Kingdom of Venezuela. All right? Let's read it. Let's zoom in real quick. I don't know how much I'm going to read of it, but because this chapter about Venezuela is quite big. All right, I'll go through a couple pages. All right, but anyway, it says the Kingdom of Venezuela says in the year 1526, all right, 1526, all right, with the usual dangerous persuasions and deceits to conceal the injuries and losses God and the Indians suffered, along with the king in the Indies, the emperor granted and conceded the government and jurisdiction of the large kingdom of Venezuela, much larger than Spain, to some German merchants, adventurers, in exchange for certain concessions and agreements. Those merchants, upon entering the land with 300 or more men, encountered people as tame as sheep, talking about the Venezuelans, all right? The Israelites, all right, you Asherites, all right, encountered people as tame as sheep, as were all the native people in the Indies everywhere, until they suffered injury at the hand of the Spaniards, all right, which is Esau, Edom, the so-called white men. The Spaniards are Caucasians, so-called Caucasian people, so-called white people, man. All right. So when Esau, Edom came over here to the Indies, all right, it says until they suffered injury at the hand of the Spaniards, man. All right. So, Esau, Edom, the so-called white man, he put hell on the Israelites all throughout the Indies, man. All right. Go back, either read this book for yourself or go back to the videos and the lessons that I've done, man. All right. It says, and here were committed, I believe, incomparably more cruelties than those we have described. Yeah. So all the cruelty and inhumane acts, all right, and atrocities, all right, that this book explains that Esau, Edom did to the Israelites in the before chapters, all right, he's saying what they did in Venezuela surpasses all of that, man. It says here were committed, I believe, incomparably more cruelties than those we have described, acts more irrational and ferocious than any inflicted by the most ferocious lions and tigers and rabid wolves. All right, because the actions were carried out with more avidity and blind greed, with more subtle determination to rob the Indians of their gold and silver. And again, when I told you what are the resources in South America, all right, dealing with Venezuela, all right, gold, all right, and silver, man. All right, gold, all right, and silver. Okay? So let's go back. All right? It says with more determination to rob the Indians of their gold and silver than all the tyrants who had gone before. They subordinated, all right, all shame, all right, all fear of God, all right, and of the king, forgetting that they were mortal men having greater freedom since they possess all the jurisdiction of the land. All right. It says they ravaged, destroyed, incarnadined, all right, and depopulated these dominions. That's all Esau Edom is about, man, is depopulation. Killing, destroying. To this day, he's still depopulating. That's what this whole scamdemic thing was about, man. Depopulation, man, because he knows that the Israelites are scattered throughout the four corners of the earth. So he brought this scamdemic upon the four corners of the earth to depopulate the Israelites, man, really, all right, that are scattered throughout the four corners of the earth, because he knows that the Israelites are like the sand of the sea, innumerable, man. All right. It says they ravaged, destroyed, incarnadined, all right, or carnadined, and depopulated these dominions extending over more than 400 leagues. All right, that had been supremely happy in admirable provinces, densely populated, rich in gold. Let me look up this word real quick. All right. All right. A fleshly pink color red. Ooh. So he painted the town red. That's what they did. They painted the town red. All right. They ravaged, destroyed, incarnadined. All right. Painted the town red and because all they did was slaughter. All right. And depopulated. The scriptures say, ye shall be left few in number. That was part of the curses. Ye shall be left few in number. They ravaged, destroyed, incarnadined, and depopulated these dominions extending over more than 400 leagues and had been supremely 400 leagues that had been supremely happy and admirable provinces densely populated with rich and gold. Let me see how you pronounce this word real quick.
Incarnadine.
All right, so incarnadined, all right? Incarnadined, all right? So it says, here the conquerors have slain the total population of diverse nations on many all right, you see? Ye shall be left few in number. That was part of the curses. All right, here the conquerors have slain the total population of diverse nations on many leagues. They have not left a single human being alive, except for a few who took refuge in caves, in the bowels of the earth, to escape the alien and pestilential knives. Those German merchants have killed and uprooted innocent generations, employing a variety of strange iniquities and impieties. All right, employing a variety of strange iniquities and impieties, man. So they did things to the Israelites that were unheard of, man. All right, in the earlier chapters, you read about how they burnt them alive. All right, they sliced them in two. All right, with the sword. They ripped the babies out of the pregnant women's bellies. All right, and then dashed the babies on the stones. All right, then they also pierced through the pregnant women with the sword, killing the baby and the woman, the mother. You know, they fed them to the wild dogs, the ravaging dogs, and they ate them alive, the dogs. You know? and I think in the lesson before, I read how they did things that can't even be uttered, basically, if I'm not mistaken, if I remember properly. All right? Things that will make you be like, yo. All right? It says, employing a variety of strange iniquities. all right, and impieties as I consider them, and they are still today unremittingly doing the same thing. Yeah, literally till this day, man. Literally till this day, all right? That's that perpetual hatred against the children of Israel, man. All right, Ezekiel the 35th chapter. All right, it says, of the infinite number of offenses and outrages perpetrated in this region, I will give only 4 or 5 examples. All right, from these, it will be possible to judge the methods that have been used here to effect the devastation and depopulation we have mentioned above. They captured the supreme ruler of this province without any cause other than to extract him from his gold through torture. All right. He broke loose and fled to the mountains when he stirred up the people who were hiding there in the underbrush. All right. They hunted down those in revolt, and there ensued great slaughters, and all those taken captive were sold openly as slaves. All right. In all the provinces where these conquerors came, no matter where, they were welcomed, all right, with songs and dances and gifts of gold in great quantity. Yeah, so when they came there, we welcomed them, all right, not knowing, all right, during this time, they didn't know that was the devil, man. They welcomed them with open arms, like it says right here, dances and songs, gifts with gold. And in return, they did nothing but slaughter them and torture them and destroyed them, devoured them, spoiled them. All right, it says, and this continued until the conqueror seized the noble ruler of the province. The hospitality of the people was repaid by terror, you see, all right, which spread through the land as the people were put to the sword. Woo, all right, you see? And that's how it is today, man. You got cool niggas today that still want to love Esau Edom's ass, man, after all that he has done to us. All right, and it's not all that he has done, is what he's still doing, man. You Negroes, you Latinos, you Native Americans don't even know that you're damn slaves, yo. Till this day. All right? You're slaves by contracts. Your birth certificate. Your social security number, your passport, your license. Those all bound you, man. All right, through contract, bro. All right, see, you're so brainwashed that you don't even know you're brainwashed. You're so brainwashed, all right, that you don't even know you're a slave. All right, it says on one occasion when the Indians came out to welcome the conquerors, they were all placed in a big house of straw and at a command were slaughtered. All right, some Indians escaped from the bloody hands of those bestial men. All right, yeah, that's Esau Edom is, man. He's a damn beast, man. All right, by climbing the wooden stanchions. All right, stanchions. All right, let me look that up real quick because I'm not quite sure what that is. Okay. All right. It says where was I at? By climbing the wooden stanchions. All right. The commander then set fire to the house, burning to death all the ones who had escaped death by the sword. All right. And this had to happen, man. This was the Lord, bro. All right. It says a great many villages were depopulated. All right. It says the few survivors of the massacre fleeing to the mountains for safety. The conquerors arrived in a large province bordering the province and kingdom of Santa Marta, where the Indians were dwelling in peace, occupied at their crafts in their houses. All right, their haciendas. All right, doing their usual work. The conquerors remained for some time in the villages, consuming the Indians' food and provisions while the Indians served them wholeheartedly, enduring continual oppression and importunities. All right, the intolerable, gross behavior of the conquerors, their enormous appetites. All right, yeah, because Esau Edom, he's about gluttony, and the scriptures say they take more than their hearts can wish for. All right, if I remember correctly, the scriptures say if they steal grapes, would they not leave any grapes? You know, meaning that they just keep on taking and taking and taking, man. All right, he's the complete opposite of how the Lord taught the nation of Yasharala, man, the nation of Israel, man. All right. It says the intolerable gross behavior of the conquerors, all right, their enormous appetites, one man eating at a single meal more than would suffice for a family of 10 Indians in a month. All right. It says of their own free will, the Indians gave them at this time large quantities of gold and performed countless services of a friendly nature. And there isn't no such thing as free will, just to throw that in there. All right. It says, and performed countless services of a friendly nature. Finally, wanting to depart, the tyrants decided to repay the Indians in the following way. The German tyrant, who was the governor, and we believe he was a heretic, for he neither attended mass nor allowed any of his men or the Indians serving them to attend mass. All right, the Germans all being Lutherans and or known as such. All right, so it says the German tyrant, who was the governor, commanded that all the Indians and their wives and children be herded into a huge corral surrounded with stakes, which the Indians themselves had driven into the ground. And he commanded that no food be given them until each one had ransomed himself by promising to bring back gold from his house, so much for himself. All right, so much for himself, so much for his wife, so much for his children, child or children. Many Indians were allowed to go to their houses, from which they brought back the required gold, but then the tyrant hired some rascally Spaniards to go to the houses where the ransomed Indians had resumed their lives, and to bring them back to the corral where they were submitted, all right, once more to torture from hunger and thirst, and told they could ransom themselves again for more gold. All right. It says some Indians ransomed themselves several times. Others, who had no more gold to give, have given all they possessed, were kept in the corral until they died of hunger. You see how Esau Edom dealt with us, man? As I'm reading all this, man. All right, Esau Edom has a lot to pay for, man. Going all the way back to this time, going all the way back to the Greeks, going all the way back to before that, man. All right, thus the German tyrant ravaged and destroyed and depopulated a province rich in gold that had been densely inhabited. All right, and it says and in a large and in a large valley of this province, 40 leagues in extent, he burnt a settlement comprised of 1,000 houses. All right, this diabolical tyrant decided to push into the interior of Peru. All right, so you Peruvians had to get it too. All right, desiring to explore the country for gold, and it says right here that Peru, all right, gold. All right, you had silver right here in Peru, Chile, Bolivia. All right, gold. All right, gold is produced significant quantities in Peru, Brazil, Argentina. All right, so he went to Peru. He could get all that gold, man. All right, it says this diabolical tyrant decided to push into the interior of Peru, desiring to explore the country for gold. For this unhappy journey, he took with him a great number of the surviving Indians chained together, each of them carrying a cargo weighing 4 arrobas. All right. Let's see how much an arroba weighs. All right. All right. It's a roughly equal to 25 pounds. All right. So he had to do 4 of that. All right, which was about 100 pounds or something like that. All right. 25, 25, 50. Yep. All right. So let's get it. Let's keep reading. 4 arrobas. All right. And when one of the Indians would weaken or faint from hunger and weariness, they cut off his head at the collar of the chain, so as not to delay or stop the march of the others. So they just swiftly did it, man. All right. And their head will fall to one side of the road while the bodies fell to the other side. All right. And the burden, all right, the dead man had carried was distributed among the other captive Indians. All right. Wow, that's crazy. So they had to carry a dead man. All right. And the burden of the dead man had carried, all right, was distributed among the other captive Indians. All right. To recount the provinces raised by this tyrant, the towns and settlements he burned, and the people he killed, the particular cruelties he perpetrated, and the massacres he carried out on this march into the interior is not possible, and the plain truth is unbelievable. All right. It says other tyrants who succeeded him in Venezuela, all right, also followed the route he took into the interior, as did the tyrants in command at Santa Marta, all right, all with the same damnable avid desire to discover a hoard of gold in Peru. Yeah, they discovered a hoard of gold in Peru. It's like we said right here, one of the resources in Peru's rich in is gold. All right, gold is produced in significant quantities in Peru. All right, let's keep reading real quick. All right, it says and they found more than 200 leagues of the land so burnt, so devastated, that the land which had been filled with happy people, that even they, cruel tyrants as they were, looked in horror at the traces left by that first tyrant on his march into Peru. All right. It says the truth of all this has been proved by many witnesses called upon by the Council of the Indies, and their testimony in the possession of that same council. Yet never has a single one of those tyrants been burnt at the stake. All right. Yeah, because Esau, Edom, up until this day, all right, everything that he has done to the nation of Israel, he had never had to pay for it. All right. But he is going to pay for it. Everything. The Lord let him build all that wickedness up, bro, just so the Lord is righteous in giving him his judgment, man. You know? So it says, yet never as a single one of those tyrants have been burnt at the stake, but they are going to be burnt at the stake. All right? The second death is coming. The lake of fire is coming. Okay? You understand? All right? It says, yeah, and then after that 1,000 years of slavery, all right, they are going to be burnt at the stake, man. They're going to be kindled, all right, like the scriptures say, all right. I think that's Obadiah 1:18. The house of Joseph a flame, all right, the house of Israel, or the house of Jacob a fire, and the house of Israel a flame, and the house of Esau for stubble, all right. And they shall kindle in them, and there shall not be any remaining of the house of Esau, for the Lord has spoken it. For the Lord Yahweh has spoken it. All right. It says, and their acts of outrageous wickedness that have been proven seem to mean nothing to the ministers of justice who had to deal with the Indies. Because of their mortal blindness, they have never examined the crimes, the ravages and massacre that have been perpetrated and are still being perpetrated. All right, that perpetual, hatred, all right, by all the tyrant governors of the Indies. But they do now and then examine the cruelties committed by some, knave and other, thus losing to the king some thousands of Castellanos, all right, satisfied to argue these little proven and so very general and confused cases. All right, and they do not even know how to certify these minor cases or reveal, as they should in duty, bound to God and the king. All right, the fact that the German tyrants had robbed the king of more than 3 million castellanos, all right, worth of gold. All right, it says, because that province of Venezuela, where they ruined and despoiled more than 400 leagues of land, is the land richest in gold, all right, and was the most densely populated of any land in the Indies, and they diverted from the king and wasted more crown revenues in that one kingdom, all right, than the revenues of all the king of Spain, a total of millions in the 16 years since those German tyrants and enemies of God, all right, and the king began to occupy that land. And those damages, they are enemies of God. They are enemies of Yahweh, Bahashim Yahweh Shai. All right, Esau eating the so-called white man. All right, that's the number one enemy of the Most High. All right, it says, and those damages from now until the end of the world cannot be remedied unless the Most High, by a miracle, all right, resuscitates all those thousands of souls that have been perished. And that, yo, that's crazy, bro. All right, because the Lord is going to perform that miracle. All right, starting with the elect. All right, it says, and those damages from now until the end of the world cannot be remedied unless God, the Most High, Yahweh, Bahashim Yahweh Shai, by a miracle resuscitates all those thousands of, because it's called reincarnation. All right, reincarnation. And the Lord is going to resuscitate them, starting with the elect, the Israelites starting with the elect. All right, because they're going to receive eternal life. All right, it says, by a unless the Most High by a miracle resuscitates all those thousands of souls that have perished. These are the temporal damages they have caused the king. It would be well to consider what kind and how many damages and dishonors and blasphemies they have perpetrated against God and God's law. That's right. Yo, that's crazy. All right, that's for real. That's right. All right, it says, it would be well to consider what kind and how many damages and dishonors and blasphemies they had perpetrated against God and God's law, and what recompense can be made for the countless souls burning in hell because of the greed and inhumanity of those bestial German tyrants. All right, it says right here, and what recompense can be made for countless souls burning in hell. Yeah, that recompense is going to be slavery, hardcore slavery. Esau Edom has to go into hardcore slavery because of all of this, because he has touched the apple of the Lord's eye, man. You know, he has to pay for all of this, man. The Lord ain't forget about none of this. He ain't let none of this go. All right, those who lead into captivity shall go into captivity, and those who kill with the sword must be killed with the sword. Here is the patience and the faith of the saints, man. All right, and Yahweh Bahashim, Yahweh Shai Ratazah, I am of the elect. You know, I get that honor, man. All right, to watch Esau, Edom be thrown down and put him into slavery and man, put him into shackles and fetters of iron, like the scriptures say, man. All right. All thy adversaries, every one of them shall go into captivity. All right. So I'll leave it at that, man. All right. I'll just read this little section right here. All right. It says, and now as to the inhumanity and ruthlessness of those tyrants, Esau, Edom, I will conclude with this statement. From the time they entered the land until today, they have sent many shiploads of captive Indians to sell them as slaves in Santa Marta, Hispaniola, Jamaica, and the island of San Juan. More than 1 million Indians, all right, and they continue to do this. The transaction seen and known, but dissimulated, all right, by the Royal Audiencia of Hispaniola, all right, which hitherto has favored such crimes committed by the tyrants on the island, all right, which hitherto have favored such crimes committed by the tyrants on the islands and on the mainland, all right, which they have penetrated for a distance of 400 leagues, subjecting the mainland Venezuela and Santa Marta, all right, yet their actions on the mainland could still be checked and remedied, all right. These Indians have given no cause to be enslaved. Yeah, the scriptures say, Zechariah 1:15, that they have furthered the affliction, man. All right. They just kept going and going and going and going for no reason, man. It says, it is only because of blind perversity and the determination to satisfy their insatiable greed that these avaricious tyrants act as they have acted in the Indies. This alone impels, all right, them to take captive meek and innocent people from their houses, separating husband from wives, fathers from sons, and to brand them with the royal seal and to sell them as slaves. All right. And that was actually the end of it. I didn't know that. All right. So I read the whole chapter, man. All right. Dealing with Venezuela. All right. You Asherites, man. All right. And then it goes into Florida. All right. So, with that being said, Lord willing, this lesson was edifying, man. All right. Yahweh Bahashim, Yahweh Shai Ratazah, this lesson was edifying. All right. So, with that being said, I want to say call halal yum, Yahweh Bahashim, Yahweh Shai Bahashim, Rakal Quitash. All right. So, on to the next one. Shalom, shalom.